Good morning. Hi, everybody. How we doing? Happy Thursday to all of you. Oh, the weekend is almost here. Okay, weird thing just going on. I can like see a little, I don't know what that is. I can see myself in a little box. Facebook is always such a weird thing. I'm telling you. So that's new. Getting to see, like, I can see myself here, and then I've got a little live shot like over here in the corner. I had to close that out because that was distracting, but what are you doing, Facebook? It's always something. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Lois. How are you guys doing? So happy to see everybody. The sun is shining here, and I don't know, just having a decent morning. I'm not really a morning person, so for me to be like chipper in the morning, which I'm always pretty chipper with you guys, is but just, you know, on a regular basis to be chipper is it starts to make you wonder, like, what are you in such a good mood for? You can't hear me. Oh, why not? Why can't you hear me? Everything seems to be. Let me re-plug in here, you guys. Karen says, finally got it. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, because I'm not real sure what that's about. All right, so okay, looks like everybody can hear me. Okay, if you can't though, definitely let me know. Okay, she can hear me now. Sometimes all it takes is just unplugging and plugging back in my microphone. I don't know why. It's weird. But the good news is that a new microphone is actually coming today. So maybe that will change things up. Fingers crossed, right? I hope so. All the issues that Facebook has, unfortunately, I can't fix those. I wish I could. I wish I could just order a new Facebook. This one's broken. All right, guys. So I was just letting everybody kind of trickle on in. Seems like everybody's here now. So let's talk about what we're doing today, shall we? So today is our regular project. I don't know if you guys remember the days when Thursday was the only live we did. Do you remember those days? Those were really long weeks when I would only do a project on Thursdays. And I gotta say, I kind of like being able to see you guys more than just on Thursdays. And so our kind of weekly lineup goes, Mondays is our Maker Monday, and we do, right now we're working on Shop Small on Mondays. So Shop Small happens on Fridays. That gets released. New products from a small business that is partnering with Jesse James Beads. And then on Mondays, we do a project featuring those. Wednesdays are our Design on the Fly. I know the lawn guys need to go away. Absolutely. At your house or mine, because they're here too. So, anyway, Wednesdays are Design on the Fly with whatever the weekly deals are, which is what we did yesterday. And usually Mondays and Tuesdays are not Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays and Wednesdays are relatively easy projects, and Thursdays are maybe a little different, maybe a little bit harder, not always harder. And they don't necessarily have a theme unless it's What's New Wednesday the day before. And that just happened yesterday. So yesterday, being What's New Wednesday, a brand new limited edition Dia de Muertos bead mix was released. And that's what we're going to use for today's project. Today's project is so fun. I cannot wait to show it to you guys. It is such a cute little project. But before we get to that, let's do the housekeeping. And the housekeeping is to go over those weekly deals, just in case you need a gentle reminder about what those are. So the weekly deals for this week are a free spool of elasticity with a $49 cart, and your code for that is MAKER. You can also get 10% off all bead strands, and the code for that is STRAND10. And then last and certainly not least, because I love this deal, is buy 3 get 1 free on the check glass beads, and the code for that is just CHECK. So those are all three really great deals. Any of those are going to be a great way to, you know, stock up on things. And the elasticity, you can't go wrong with that. Everybody needs elasticity in their arsenal of jewelry making supplies. In fact, that's what we used yesterday, and I showed you guys a tried and true knot. Oh my gosh, Jane says her yard people have been there since 7 a.m. I would not be in a very good mood if I had yard people here at 7 a.m. Like, really? There's a 7 a.m.? All right, so the What's New Wednesday bead mix is awesome. Have you checked it out over on the website? Not only is this an awesome bead mix, but there's also a design contest with this one. So some of you may have already seen this shared out on Facebook. There is an event ready for this one. And this is where you use the limited edition bead mix. That's this guy right here. Okay, so grab your bead mix and then you create your own unique design featuring this bead mix, and you are going to post that in the discussion tab, and the posts are due by November 2nd. So you've got some time, you've got plenty of time to get your order in and then work on your piece and then post your pictures of it. The deadline for that again is November 2nd at 11 a.m. and then on the same day, on November 2nd, the winner will be announced at 3 p.m. So just know that it all happens in the same day, okay? And there will be 3 winners. So the first place winner is going to get a $50 Jesse James Beads gift card to spend however they want to. And then 2 runners up will get a $25 gift card each, okay, to spend at Jesse James Beads however they want to. So it's always really fun. I love it when we have the design contest because I absolutely love seeing what you guys make. Even when there's not a design contest going on, I still love to see your designs, right? But it's really cool when there's a bead mix that's like specifically involved, because everybody's take on the bead mix and how they use it is always so different. It's so fun to see all the creativity. All right, so we've got this guy, and this is what we're going to use for our project today. And you can use this as some inspiration if you want to for your own project. Now, before we get started with this project, I want to put up like a big disclaimer. Disclaimer, I wish I had like a big sheet that says disclaimer here. So the project that we are doing today involves creating a little beaded skeleton, okay? We're going to use this, and we're going to use some of the size 11 seed beads, the Toho seed beads from Jesse James Beads, to put together our little skeleton. Now, the disclaimer is I cannot take full credit for the little skeleton himself, because I have seen this skeleton done a million different ways in a million different places. So this is not an original Sara Ellis skeleton, okay? You're going to see this skeleton, I don't know if it's this year, but I have seen him previously in other years, and he's configured a little bit differently. Everybody kind of puts their own twist on it, but the body of the skeleton, I mean, there's only so many ways you can put together a skeleton's body, okay? So I can't claim that this is 100% original. It is original when you use the beads that we're going to use for it. That makes it special, of course. But as far as the skeleton itself, I mean, you can find skeleton projects to create your own skeletons. I just don't want anybody to think that, like, you know, I'm trying to claim this little guy as like my own little creation. He absolutely is not. I just thought that he was really fun and cute, and he can be used for the Dia de los Muertos, and he can also be used for Halloween, and we've not done a skeleton before, so I thought it would be cool to do that, okay? So that's the little disclaimer. Everybody heard it. Everybody knows I'm not stealing anybody's skeleton, okay? I'm just saying he's a pretty common little dude, but he's fun to make. So if you've never made one before, this will be a fun project. All right, let's get down to the mat. I'm going to show you the beads, and then we're going to put together this little dude, and we're going to turn him into a necklace. You guys can do whatever you want to with him. You can make 2 of them and make earrings if you wanted to, but I think he looks really cool as a pendant. So that's what we're going to do. All right, Donna says she loves the earrings I'm wearing. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I just got these very special from a friend. All right, so here's my little bowl, and here is our bead mix. I'm going to pour this one out. We're going to take a look-see at it. See all of the beautiful colors that are in here. That's the one thing that I really, really love about the Dia de los Muertos holiday, is that the colors are always so bright and wonderful and cheerful, even in the fall, right? It's such a colorful tradition. Lots of marigolds and roses and pops of bright colors. So you have your Halloween background, you know, in your dark, spooky, and then you have this pop of brilliant color everywhere, which I really, really love. So here are the fabulous tassels. These are some of my very favorite Jessie James beads tassels, and that's the triangles with all of the little tassels hanging from them. I love this design. I think it is super cool and super fun. They make great earrings. Just pop an ear wire on them, or a couple of jump rings and an ear wire, and you're good to go. Or you can bead these up and make them really fabulous. But either way, they're really fabulous all on their own. There are some of the amazing rose beads in here, you guys, and we have talked about these because they were just recently re-released. There are some of these in here as well. The color on them, they are metal, but they do tend to look very velvety. The color that is on them, oh, so good. It's so good. It's so good. And of course there are tons of little skeleton skulls in here. So there's this little skeleton charm. There are these little guys, which are super, super cute. Love them. So these are side drilled, so they hang this direction. So cool. There's this guy, right? So awesome. And then there are some smaller ones. And I was telling Sarah James, I love these little smaller ones because this size, the blue one, is the size that I think is probably the most common size of the skull beads. And I, over the years, have had those in various colors. But this little tiny baby one, I've never had any in this size before. And I love them. I don't know. There's just something about that smaller size that is just super, super cute. You can stack these up if you want to. They make really cool stacked up earrings, you know, stack them up, put some beads with them, put a tassel. Ooh, that would be cool. Put the tassel on the bottom. Ooh, I love that. I just made an impromptu design. I'm going to make that later, actually. Really, really cool. And then there are the pops of color in here. So you've got your tassels in the blue and the orange. You do have the purple tassels, which we already talked about. There are pops of orange in here that is just gorgeous, right? There's orange in a couple of different sizes. There's some yellow, this awesome kind of milky purple color that I really, really love. And then you've got black and these little bicones. We're going to use the bicones in our skeleton's body for today. There are some roses in here. I love these. Oh, they're not roses. They're just flowers. They look like marigolds. Very, very pretty. Perfect addition to this mix. And last but not least are your lava beads. Oh, and don't forget about these guys. I really love those too. That color is everything. The lava beads are super, super cool to use. I don't know if you know this or not. I feel like it seems to be pretty common these days. But for those of you who don't know, the lava beads are really cool to use with your essential oils or your perfumes. Just don't mix the two together. You might give yourself a headache. But you can dab essential oils or perfume oils onto your lava beads and they will retain the scent and it makes your jewelry smell really good. And you can redo it. So like, you know, if you wanted to put together a bracelet that had your lava beads on it and you wanted some lavender oil on them, you could rub some lavender oil on them and then maybe in a few days you could come back and put like lemongrass or whatever it is that you wanted. But I love lava beads for that reason in particular, plus the fact that they're just really cool looking. So all right, there are some little spacers in here. There's just a lot going on in this mix. So don't forget there's a design contest for this mix in particular. Okay. All right, now let's get to our project for today. So we're going to put together our little skeleton guy and then we are going to make him into a pendant. And we're just going to hang him from a little beaded section and some chain. So I'm going to need the bead mat because I'm going to pour out some seed beads. Now, as far as the seed beads are concerned, I'm using some of these purple beads from the Crushed Violet seed bead mix from Jessie James Beads. And you don't have to use the purple for this, okay? I just chose the purple because I like purple, but he would look really cool with any other seed bead as well. I think he would look really cool in like the bright yellow. So that Firecracker mix, it has like a deep kind of orange red, a tangerine orange, and then a bright, bright yellow. He would look really cool with those seed beads as well. And they definitely would, Colleen, oh my gosh, you're funny. Any of the colors, that Firecracker mix would look really, really good with this. Any of the purples, any of the pinks, really you could use any of the bright colored seed beads with this project and it's going to look great. I just think the purple is really cool. Okay, so what are you going to need? You're just going to need a few little things here. We're going to use, let's see, 4 pieces of 22 gauge wire, and they don't have to be super long pieces. Give yourself about 3 or 4 inches each, right? Asking for a friend. Oh my gosh, you're funny. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and create the legs first. I know that's weird. Most people start with the body first, but we're going to do the legs first. So we're going to need 2 pieces of our 22 gauge wire, and I'm actually going to go ahead and lay out. We're going to use some of these little bicones, and we're going to need 4 of those. So we'll have 2 on each leg. The bicones are going to serve as his hips and his knees. Okay, so 2 for each leg. All right, so you can do this with eye pins if you want to, but I find that the eye pins are just not quite long enough for this project, so I like to use my own. And so to do that, all we're going to do is we're just going to take our 22 gauge piece of wire here. I'm using German style wire. You can certainly use artistic wire for this because we're not doing a lot of twisting and turning and crazy business, okay? So I'm just going to use my round nose pliers. I'm going to grab that wire. I'm coming back just a little bit here. I like to make kind of a small loop. Doesn't need to be super big. And you just want to roll the end to create a loop. Right? Then you want to put it back on the pliers and you want to break the neck. And to do that, you just keep it like it is on the pliers and then you just kind of give it a bend like that. And you can see how it straightens up our loop. So now our loop is not off to one side, it's more centered. Okay. Sometimes when you do that though, it will open up your loop. So you want to go back in and close your loop back up just in case that happens. Okay. So you're just creating a little loop. And we are going to thread on 5 of our seed beads. So there's 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're going to thread on a bicone. That's going to be his knee. And then we're going to thread on 5 more seed beads. Okay, that's the upper part of his leg. And now we are going to thread on our last bicone, and that's going to be kind of our hip area, if you will. Okay, let those fall. And of course, you can see I have way more wire than I needed. That is always the way it is with me. That's just, this piece doesn't need to be particularly long. So if you wanted to use an eye pin for this piece, you can. It's the body piece that is a little bit longer and the arms that you're really going to need more than just an eye pin for. Okay, so I'm just going to bend the wire right over the top of that bead, not making any spaces because we're not doing a wrapped loop. We're just going to do a simple loop. No, please don't break its neck. All right, now I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and I'm going to trim off. I'm going to leave myself about 1/4 of an inch of the wire. Okay, I'm going to put this over here. And then we're going to come in with our round nose pliers and we're just going to roll back to create a simple loop. So we've got a simple loop on the top and a simple loop on the bottom. Okay, so that's that. Now we're just going to repeat this process because obviously he needs 2 legs. So I'll do that, roll to make our little kind of P shape, and then we need to break its neck. So put it back on the pliers and then just give the wire a little bit of a turn, and that's going to center up your loop. Okay, again, 5 of the seed beads. Okay, and then a bicone. 5 more seed beads. And a bicone. All right, we're gonna let those drop. Same thing, we're gonna come in with our pliers, bend the wire. We're gonna trim off, leave ourselves about 1/4 of an inch of wire. And then we're gonna use the round nose pliers to roll back and create our simple loop. So these are our 2 little legs. And I know they don't look like much at the moment, but they will. It'll all come together and make perfect sense, I promise. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we're going to have to kind of do the body and arms all at the same kind of time. And so we're going to start out the same way we did with our legs. We're going to create a loop. So coming in with the round nose pliers, okay, roll into the shape that we need, and then break the neck, center up that loop. This actually feels like a 20 gauge piece of wire. That's weird. Interesting. Mixed up my pieces of wire here. All right, and now I'm going to open that loop just laterally. I'm just twisting it open. And I'm going to thread on each one of the legs. So there's 1 and there's 2. And remember, I said those bicones at the top, those are his hips. So you want to be sure that those are at the top. So when I turn this over, you can see. Make sure that the bicones are not on the bottom, that they're up here. That's what's going to kind of keep those legs separated so that they don't hang side by side and just droop, right? Those bicones, they are the hips, but they do keep the legs separated. Okay. All right. Now we're going to thread on, I'm going to use some orange for his body and another bicone. We're going to thread on one of these orange rondelles. Okay. It's like his little belly. We're going to thread on a bicone. And then another orange rondelle. This will be like his chest area. Okay. So now we have his torso, and I'm going to thread on, let's see, can't remember if it's 1 or 2. It's just 1, I believe. We're going to thread on just 1 seed bead. Okay. It's just going to give us a little space. Okay, now we have to do the arms next, even though we're not finished with his body. Okay, so we're going to sit this over here to the side for just a second. And we are going to take, let's see, I can't remember how I did this. That's not very helpful, is it? Okay, so we're gonna do another loop here on the end. Okay, this is gonna be his hand. So just turn your loop just like so, and then put it back on the tool, break its neck to even up your loop. And you can see that one opened up on me a little bit, so I do need to come back in and make sure that it is nice and closed so that the seed beads don't sneak into that loop. Okay, now we're going to thread on, I gotta have some more bicones here, pull these out of the mix. Okay, I'm going to thread on 4 seed beads. So there's 1, 2, 3, whoops, I'm not going to thread on anything at this rate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we're going to thread on a bicone. That's going to be his elbow. And we're going to do 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then another bicone, and that will be his shoulder. Okay. All right. Now, we have to attach this arm before we make the second arm. We have to attach this to the body. And this is kind of the tricky part. It's not hard, it's just a little tricky. So what we need to do is we want to lay our piece that has our first arm, we want to lay that wire across the long wire that's coming out of his torso here, okay? And then what we want to do is very carefully, and my fingers are in the way, but we want to wrap this wire around that center wire once, okay? And it's still going to slide. You can see I've just wrapped around once, and that wrap is pretty tight. You want, I mean, it's not so tight that you can't slide his arms up and down, right? But you don't want a big bulky opening here. You want it to be as snug up against that wire as possible, okay? And then straighten out the other side, and you just want to repeat. So we're going to start at the shoulder. We're going to thread on a bicone. Whoops. Okay, that'll be the other shoulder. We're going to do 4 more seed beads. The bicone for his elbow, and then 4 more seed beads. Okay. Now we want to do another simple loop to hold all those beads on. We have a troll. Oh no, we have a troll. We never get trolls here. That's weird. All right, so I'm grabbing the wire right where it is exiting that last seed bead, and I'm just going to give it a bend. Okay. Oh gosh. And then I'm going to trim the wire. I'm glad I didn't see it. I'll have to go back and look. Oh, I see. No? Maybe not. I don't know. All right, so now I'm going to do a wrapped loop. It looks like a beady hangman. It totally does. Totally does. Okay, grabbing the wire, rolling back. And we have his little arms. Now, yeah, they're sticking out straight to the sides. We're gonna fix that because I'm not a fan. I don't like it when his arms are sticking out like that. He looks like a scarecrow more than a skeleton. But let's go ahead and put the rest of him together before we kind of adjust the way that he looks. So I'm gonna thread on 2 of the seed beads here, and then I'm gonna thread on the skeleton head. The blue skull. Now, if you want to use one of the smaller skulls, you absolutely can. But I like I'm just a fan of the big blue one. I think it looks pretty cute. All right, so he's got a little neck. You can see that's why I added the 2 extra seed beads and didn't just drop his head down. I wanted to be sure. Hi, Rochelle. We know you're not a troll. I wanted to drop those 2 seed beads down on there so that he does have a neck. If you don't add the seed beads, he looks really short and stubby. So, okay, I'm going to do a wrapped loop here on the top. So we've been doing simple loops everywhere else, but for the top of this guy, we definitely want to do a wrapped loop. So I'm going to bend the wire just like so. So now I have that space in between there. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, taking the wire up and over. I'm going to roll the pliers out of the way and then take the wire over to the other side. Okay, and then I'm going to wire wrap in the space between the loop and the top of our bead, which is the top of his little head. Okay. And you might be able to get 4 wraps. Just kind of depends. It's a little tight, but I did have room for 4. Okay. And now I'm going to come in and trim off the tail, so we don't need that. Okay. Looks like he's doing a yoga pose. He's just like, yeah, he's getting his workout in this morning. All right, now I'm not a fan. Like I said, I don't like his arms out straight like that. If you like it like that, that's totally fine. But I feel like they're going to get hung on things. He is going to be a pendant on a necklace, and so I thought that he would probably be better suited to move his arms down a bit. So because it's wire, you know, you can really kind of form his arms however you want to. Also, he has loops. See, I kind of like his arms down a little bit better. He's got loops on either end here. If you wanted to hang like a flower on one side, something else over here on the other side, you definitely could do that. He could be holding any number of things. However, when I tried to make him hang things from his hands so that it looks like he's holding things, or even if you wanted to like give him little fingers, you could. I recommend that you do something on both hands. You know, just because if you don't, he does kind of hang sideways. It weighs him down. It makes him look kind of droopy on one side. He will kind of, you know, his whole little upper body is just going to slant to one side. So be sure that if you want him to hold anything that you do, like even, they don't have to be like the exact same thing, but they need to be the equal in weight on either side so that he will continue to hang straight up and down. You could also, if you wanted to, instead of having loops down here on his feet, you could do feet. If you wanted to, you could do like little toes. I'm not a fan of the toes. If you don't want the loops, you could do the legs on head pins instead, but it does make him look kind of stubby down here if you do that. That's why I like the loops. It does give kind of the, you know, use your imagination, and he does have a little bit of a foot down there, right? So you can change him up a million different ways. You can create the exact same skeleton with the beads that are in your mix, but just change them up. For one thing, like I said at the beginning, you can change up your seed beads. You don't have to use the purple. He would look really cool in bright yellow, or really any color of the seed bead mixes from Jesse James the Beads would be awesome. You can only make one with the blue head, so the pendant, if you want him to be a pendant, I would use the blue head. If you wanted to make some that were earrings, I would definitely go with the little white heads and make them a little bit smaller, right? Because you've got four of the littler, or the smaller, littler is not even a word, the smaller heads here. And then you could just use the smaller rondelles for the body. See how that rondelle is just a little tiny bit smaller? But you could use any of the beads in the mix here to create his torso. If you wanted his torso to be a single bead, you could even use the yellow bead. So get creative with your skeleton's body. You can change him up and make him look like whatever you want to. You could even add, there's not one in this mix, but you could add a bead cap here as a skirt, right? And he would look like a she, which is cool. A lot of fun. Jane says white like bones. Yeah, you could totally make him white. The only reason that I didn't do his body in white, and these guys would look really cool with white because they really would look like little skeletons. I might have to make one. But the only reason I didn't do him in white was because I wanted like lots of pops of color. And we're going to do a little beaded section, just some simple stringing up here to hang him from. But yeah, these guys with little white bodies, I think I'm going to have to do that after lunch. I think that's going to be fabulous. I love that idea. All right, so for the rest of this, we're just going to put together a little beaded section, and we're just going to do some simple stringing here. This is not going to be anything major or hard or anything. I want the bicones on the end because I want to kind of tie in the bicones. I do want to use some of these little skull silver beads because I think those are super cool. So we're going to put those in there, and then these milky purple beads that are just so cool kind of tie in that purple. It's not the same color, but I think it brings the purple out a bit.